Welcome to A4NO, B4Yes.
Welcome everybody to A for No, B for Yes. This is our bonus behind the scenes episode. Yeah, I figured, guys, we could do like a behind the scenes episode of where we're at, how we've been doing, how this game played into every game we've played so far. And we'll be trying to do one of these hopefully at the end of each season. I am Ryan Fonzie, and I have my co-hosts here as always.
Cameron Hagee. What's up?
Sounded unsure.
And I'm the guy, the guyest guy who's ready to do all the things. Tony Giggles.
Yeah. So guys, we're here. We finished a season. I mean, we've played 2 games now. So now I feel like we have some stuff to really talk about. Like we can do some comparisons and we can do some, out of the first 20 some odd episodes that we've done, I mean, it's been a journey, I feel like. And I just wanted to, take a moment to breathe, maybe spend a couple weeks not playing a game, just kind of talk a little bit about where we are, how we started, stuff like that. So, if you don't mind, I can just start off with just some basic about me type stuff.
Yeah.
Or about us rather. I mean, we've all known each other since we were kids. I mean, we all grew up in, to not be too specific, in the Western New York area, literally minutes away from each other. There were times when I know you guys were living across the street from one another. I was like more around the corner, but still like less than 10 minutes away. So, I've always felt like my journey through gaming a lot of times like was pretty close to your guys's as well.
Pretty aligned.
We grew up enjoying the same types of games. Me and Anthony, we pulled more than one all-nighter as kids on just whatever random game we were into at the time.
And so many sleepovers.
Right? So many sleepovers with all of it. Like I remember anything that we could hook 4 controllers to, it was like, I know that the 3 of us were there a lot. We'd have like, a couple other
GoldenEye
people from around the town as well come in. Yeah. What's up?
It's funny. I was thinking about this actually when you mentioned this, and I started to think of the sleepovers that we had and like the different, LAN parties, which not many people probably know even what that is anymore. And I was talking to these kids at my work. He was talking about like having sleepovers with his friends and how he like basically has the Switch, has the PS5, has the PC. They just wirelessly, they never have to communicate. And this is how they grew up. But if you think about how we grew up, where we literally had to go to someone's house or you're not playing games with this person, it's such a different world.
Yeah. Like now you have to distinguish, is it online multiplayer or is it couch co-op? I'm like, couch co-op, you just like back in the day, that was just multiplayer. Like there was no designation for couch co-op. Like that wasn't a thing, or split screen, Yeah. And now it's like a lot of games that will have online multiplayer won't even have the split screen. You're like, why not? It should. All games should still have this feature if it's going to be multiplayer at all. Sometimes I feel like I just want to sit next to somebody and not need 2 different screens. But I mean, hey, it is what it is.
It is.
Gaming has changed.
Yeah, and we lived through that transition, actually. I remember going to people's houses and having sleepovers and playing games to all of a sudden, I'm playing like Halo 3 online with Matt and you, Anthony, I think. And I mean, maybe somebody was over at someone's house and like they were playing too, but somebody else was connected from somewhere else talking on a headset. And then that became more the norm.
Yeah.
But yeah, never really thought about it.
Yeah, it went from like Game Boy link cables. Y'all remember that?
Yeah, the Game Boy link cables.
Oh my goodness. Pokemon trying to trade your Pokemon back in the day with the link cables.
You were the cool kid in kindergarten.
I remember like there was a kid in our first grade class. We were trying to trade Pokemans, and he came over to my house with his Game Boy Color, and we hooked up all the link cables, and we were like, oh, why is this not working? And like, oh, bro, you use the red link cable. You have to use the yellow link cable. And it's like, bro, why?
Because some of them were messed up. Like you have like one cable out, and then it would split into 3 different ones, and there was always the damaged one that you're not supposed to use. And
I never understood it.
Yeah, it was a weird time.
This one will just mess up your system, dude. Do not use this one.
Yeah, and then there were certain times when you do trades and then trade back, because who wants to just trade their Haunter and not get the Gengar for it, So you put all that effort training the Pokemon, and it's like, why won't it evolve? Well, we got to trade it. I mean, if you actually want the result, you got to trade back because it only evolves when you trade. So you had to really trust that person to not like run away with your Gengar.
Yeah,
it is a whole thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I actually had that happen to me. There was a kid that lived in the apartment complex when I was growing up, and I traded him with my blue and his red to evolve something. I don't remember what it was. And then he just said, like, hey, I like this guy. And then he just kind of unplugged the cable and walked away.
Oh,
and I had to pester the living something out of this kid for like the next couple hours and like bang on his door to get my guy back.
Yeah.
Like, I can imagine. Please.
I was like, bro, what are you doing?
Just one gym. Just let me beat one gym with him.
I'm like, dude, I'll help you get your own. Just like, come on, man.
Right? Yeah, those were dark times.
That reminds me, I'm packing up recently and trying to move all my stuff to a new place, and I actually found my old link cables for the Game Boy Advance. I don't know why I have them still. They're there though, just in all their glory. I still have them. I have Rumble packs from the N64 still. Like, why are these here?
Nice. Most of that stuff I've either sold or lost over the years. Like I don't think I have anything that work. I mean, I have a Game Boy Advance sitting around my office right now. It doesn't work. I just burnt out my GameCube this year, so I'm trying to. Eventually, I want to try to fix that, but I'm just playing GameCube games on the Wii now, stuff like that.
I still have a working Game Boy Advance, and I have a couple good games for it. I have Crystal that still works, and I have Legendary Super Warriors that still works.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I still have that game hidden somewhere in this house. That
game was a gem.
It was a hidden gem. People didn't know about that one.
No,
it was good though.
It was hard too. Like
Dragon Ball Z's had some weird milled out games, and that one was not. That one was thought out.
The boss battles in that, like when you fight Frieza, Cell, and the final Boo, like the big bosses, those were really hard fights too.
Yeah.
Spoilers for a 27-year-old game. Wait, what?
Spoilers. It follows the show.
No Dragon Ball Z game has ever done that.
Oh goodness. Yeah. So I mean this is just a brief history of at this point it's a scope back into our early gaming days. But I remember going through elementary school and middle school and like always kind of being pretty close to at least one of you two during that time. I think we did some JV sports together, and then I think high school is kind of where things started kind of breaking down a little bit. I remember I was getting closer to like orchestra kids and stuff like that, and I think you guys went to BOCES.
Yep.
Right? It was like a career training program. I don't know if BOCES is like a universal thing that everyone knows about, but people in our area are very familiar with it.
It is not.
All right. Well, there you go. It's like
I've learned that down here.
They're going to find us.
Trying to explain to a job down here, like, hey, so what activities did you do in high school? It's just like, I guess, an interview question. And it's like, yeah, so I was in advanced classes for the most part of my junior and senior year. And I went to BOCES. I was in soccer. I did band. Hold on, BOCES. Explain that.
What is like a BOCES?
It's like a trade school, but for like electronics, electrical work, carpentry, cosmetology. They're like, but why is it called BOCES? I was like, I don't have the answer for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was like an acronym or something. Like every letter stood for something, but I don't remember what.
Mm-mm.
I also didn't do it, so I was just in regular high school.
We graduated from it and didn't know what it stood for.
Yeah, and I remember transitioning even into college years. Like that was when I think I was most isolated from home friends and stuff like that. I mean, I remember spending summers over at Steven's house and stuff like that. I mean, these are all name drops that nobody listening is going to understand. So sorry about that, but it's just part of the story, I guess. I know we talked about it during our Skyward Sword season. Like that was when that game came out. Like it was 2011, where I was basically off in space. And I mean, in a way I still am. Like we're all more separated now than we ever were as kids. And we do this podcast now, which is great. We kind of reconnected, and in terms of how we got started with the podcast, I remember we've had discussions like, hey, if somebody's got a good idea for one, just put it out there and we'll all jump in. And I remember reading the book. I actually got the book. Everybody Has a Podcast Except You. It's by the McElroy brothers, if you're familiar with that. Just huge podcaster. Like, it's a podcasting family. They produce so much good audio content in the world. And so I got their book. I read it. And one of the key things, not to, give away their trade secrets, was just find something that you can talk about for hours on end. Find something that you like that much. And to me, like, one of the things that immediately stuck out was like, yo, the Legend of Zelda series. Like, if you want to talk to me about that, I have all the things, like all my favorite characters and events and memories. I mean, a lot of those games, the three of us played. Oh yeah. Around the same time as they were coming out in the early 2000s, And I remember the first time I played Majora's Mask was Anthony at your place. Like, you had a copy of it, and I never had an N64 growing up. I know you did. So every early experience of the N64, I mean, aside from maybe some relatives and stuff, was over at your place.
Is that game came out on the verge of the internet, and even I messed up. I got the legendary holographic edition of the Majora's Mask copy, which is now, there's two editions, the standard and the holographic edition. The standard, I think, I haven't checked in a long time, so I'm eyeballing these numbers, but it was $40, I think, and then the holographic is close to $100, and this is knowledge from 2 years ago, so it could be changed. But back in the day, I got that game at a garage sale. I went to a garage sale with my mom, and they were selling the Ocarina of Time and the holographic Majora's Mask with the yellow Donkey Kong 64 copy, all for $5. And I was like, yes.
Yo.
And I was like, Mom, now. And she's like, yes. And then, because she likes Zelda. So, because she played the OG and she never played the 3D. So she was like, yeah, sure, I'll play with you. And then I got those and I was like, yes. And I didn't understand Majora's Mask at the time because it was so weird. But I loved playing Ocarina of Time. And then I remember I was showing you and you're like, this is so cool. You get powers with masks. I was like, I know.
I mean, in all fairness, I don't think anyone really understands Majora's Mask. To this day, people kind of, unless you made the game, there's still things that'll make you scratch your head and be
I don't think you know if you made it.
So what's this about?
It's a fever dream.
Right? Yeah, the theories about that are crazy.
Yeah, you can go all over the place with Majora's Mask. You can support any argument with that game.
My favorite theory is that the game is basically one giant reference to the 5 stages of grief, representation of it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha.
And the theory makes a lot of sense with the points brought up. It's been a long time since I've looked into it, so I don't think I could accurately represent it right now.
Yeah, I think there was even an interview where a developer was asked about that, and they kind of said it's more complex than that. It's more complicated than that, and it is. But at the same time, they did want to have the stages of grief and things like that in the game, so it's there, but it's just not quite that cut and dry. But yeah, no, it's
as with most of the stories back then.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just look at Ocarina of Time. I mean, that for me right now is maybe an 8-hour game. And we talked about it for 20 or no, 12, 11 episodes. So 20 some odd hours of conversation time. So, I mean, there's more to talk about in that game than there is game. It's so detailed, and that's how they kind of all were. I mean, that's how that Majora's Mask and, some of the games of that time were. But yeah, I don't know. I feel the farther back you go, you end up playing arcade games that really don't have that much story, but they just hit a point where they were making straight up art. And, I feel maybe they haven't kept up entirely with that, but they're still able to pack a lot into these games.
Mm.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild was a little lagging in the story department.
Yeah, a lot of Breath of the Wild, from what I understand, people find all kinds of visual things in that game, the whole Zonai world building thing, the fact that there's an entire race of people, species of whatever, called the Zonai, the ones that are all about dragons and have all of that sculpture work. There's all kinds of theories about who they were and where they're from and what they were about. And it's really cool when you dig into it that far. But I mean, I'll say playing through the game, I interacted with a whole lot of Zonai stuff and didn't even remember that the word Zonai was a thing in that game until someone else was like, hey, like, what about the Zonai? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Like, yeah, that's kind of how I felt when you first mentioned the word.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. And I mean, stuff like that, you really got to dig into, which I appreciate that that's there. But I mean, if you just take that game and just dash through it, you'll miss so much.
Yeah, like one of the biggest parts, I thought, like after the fact, I went back into I didn't mean to cut you off if you had more.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. I was just so excited. I don't know if you guys knew this, but sort of before you get to the castle in the middle of Hyrule Field, or what is called Hyrule Field in that game, there is a destroyed section out of the castle town where all the guardians are walking around, and you kind of can see, you can go into what used to be or what was modeled after Lon Lon Ranch. I've been there before. It was discovered on the map. I had like done stuff there, never realized it was Lon Lon Ranch. You go back to it and look for Lon Lon Ranch when you go there, and it's like, whoa, this is literally Lon Lon Ranch, down to like the benches on the other side of the track. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But if it's not like in your mind, you just kind of walk through it. You're like, oh yeah, that was some broken stuff. And it's like, oh, and then you go back to
just
it
some
knowing
more,
what it is.
just some more ruins.
Yeah.
They put these things.
I never
everywhere.
realized that.
I'm excited to get to that game, but that's going to be a later season.
Yeah.
But for reasons like that, I mean, I think, talking about how we started with the podcast and everything, just kind of going back to this, I know I have a short list here that I've sent just to kind of pull the curtain back even further. I have a short list of topics I wanted to cover tonight. And one of the things is just about what our goals are with the podcast. Like I mean, when I think about the Legend of Zelda series, I mean, the lore is such a huge thing. Like I feel like video games in general are such a powerful medium because of how much you can actually be immersed into it. Like you get told a story by virtually living the story. And it can be a really good tool. I mean, there's a lot of games that you play with your mind turned off. There's a lot of games that are just, candy basically. And that's fine. Like I love how fun games are too. But I mean, the games like any entry really in the Zelda series, I mean, they all have a rich story to them that you can take in, learn something from, dig into further, and I feel like with Breath of the Wild, like I really played that game for the fun of it. It was a relaxing thing. I was very, reclined in a, whatever, like just to kind of sit back, take it in, enjoy the ride, kind of play through. Whereas what I'm learning is doing this podcast, like going through playing games with your brain turned on, like trying to find things, trying to learn more about the lore, trying to understand what the developers were trying to say. It really makes it a really cool, more enriched time. Like I think Ocarina of Time, honestly, like I mean, there's probably like college courses in game development that you take that will like ask you to play this game because I mean it's so good and you can learn so much. I mean, I can't imagine a world where like instead of a classic English literature, we're studying the Ocarina of Time in high school, being like, yo, play this game. You're going to have to write an essay about it. And you'd be able to do that. Like that, there's enough content there where you'd be able to come up with a theory and actually write an essay about it because that's how much work they put into it.
That's actually a very good, interesting point you bring up. Like, I like that, I could see Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time if you're going to a specific school for, game literature. I mean, there's definitely courses for that, especially around schools around where I live. There's courses for game story design, literature and games and blah, blah, blah. And there's even classes I've taken where they've used Star Wars Episode 3 as horrible as people talk about it online. It's the story of the hero down to down to the very core of it. And lots of professors use Episode 3 as a storytelling mechanism to kind of drive a story. It has every single point that a story needs with added benefit. And then you look at Ocarina of Time and it's like, that is a story in the purest form of a story of a hero, just like Episode 3. And
yeah,
there's so much to dive into. You'd literally go crazy. You'd spend like at least a month trying to uncover every detail.
Right? They're powerful games, and that's why I feel like I'm really interested in them. I know that gaming in general still, for some reason, hasn't been able to fully shake a lot of the negative stigma that goes around it. And I mean, I understand like people can get addicted, like it becomes escapism. It becomes things where you put it in front of other priorities in your life and kind of can go down that road. But like even like the weird discussion about like violence in video games and how they can negatively influence people. Like I feel like it becomes a stereotype, and it's not something that I love about it. Like I really think that just like movies, TV shows, like this is just video games are it's just another medium, and it's actually like one of the best ones in my opinion.
Yeah.
In terms of connecting with people. So that's the other thing. It's like I wanted to make this podcast. Like when I originally sat down and said, here's some other podcasts that inspired me, like Bonfire Side Chat, right?
Yeah, I remember that one. You love that.
Where they just go through the Soul series, like any FromSoft game really, and talk about the world building and the story and that.
Another powerful story element driven game.
And they make crazy connections that I would have never even thought to read up on and think about. But it made the games more exciting to play, and it made them more meaningful to be able to listen to something like that. And that's kind of like what I want to do is kind of show, okay, like these games, they're not just a waste of time. Like they tell a deep story. Like they do a lot of work.
It's true. And there's a lot more that games actually do too. I've watched videos of like scientists in Europe essentially proving that video games increase, I mean, obviously your hand-eye coordination, but your problem-solving capabilities, your ability to pay attention to multiple things, and even your ability to, I think they used an exact test of a bunch of blue dots and then some turned yellow and then they turned back and you had to watch them as they moved. And people that played video games a lot more often were able to keep track of 1.5 times as many of those things. So you're able to, like, it helps your brain speed up in certain ways that are not immediately noticeable, like in your life. You wouldn't be able to just pick out from back before you started gaming a lot and then afterward and be like, oh, I can pay attention to how many cars are on the road at the same time a little better now. Like, it's just not something that really clicks, but there are a lot of things like that your brain uses throughout your life constantly that you don't really realize that video games help you a lot with. And there really is no correlation with violence. I just go ahead. That whole thing is hogwash.
Yeah, but it hasn't died for whatever reason. Like it's still.
Well, the video games is a medium. Anybody that is going to get violence from a video game could also read any of Stephen King's books, and get the same exact inspiration, or watch any amount of horror movies and also get the exact same drive to do whatever messed up thing that they're eventually going to do anyways.
Yeah.
It's something that just could awaken in them, and video games being the thing that opens it could be anything. So blaming it on the game is wrong.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think, thinking as a parent now, like obviously don't give your 4-year-old the hyper graphic.
Yeah, you don't want him playing Grand Theft Auto.
Right. Like, that's more of a parenting issue really, but they have ratings on games specifically for that purpose. Like that was the solution that the industry offered, and it makes sense and it should work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, so there's that. And then I think the other thing that I've always kind of known about games is that it is a social act. It's a social experience. We're talking about link cables and, split screen. Like that was how I made friends back in the day, But I mean, even more than that, like any good story can bring people together. And I think that with gaming, like I want to meet more people. Like I want to meet like-minded people who love The Legend of Zelda, people who want to talk about it. That's why every episode you hear us throwing out our contact information so people can reach out to us and join in on this journey.
It really
not
is.
That we have a huge listener base yet, but I mean, I feel like as we work towards that, we'll meet more people who are interested in the same things, So that's my other main thing. Like I want to be able to really emphasize how good and how in depth these games are when you really think about them, but then also like use that discussion to kind of build a community around. Yeah,
it's totally a social, like, for example, part of my tattoo that I have on my arm has a moon, and the moon has the Majora's Mask at the very top of it. And when I work out, I like to wear tank tops. Sometimes I go to restaurants like that and my Majora's Mask tattoo is showing. And it's always, hey, is that a Majora's Mask? And then we get into a conversation about the game. Usually it's like, oh man, that was my favorite game. Like it was so crazy where you had to like reset time. And I was like, I know, right? And like we get into this crazy conversation about this game in the middle of public. And I'm sure there's other people like just sitting around like, what the heck are these two talking about? And it's just, it's nice to be able to talk to someone that like, if you see like someone has a Majora's Mask keychain or an Ocarina flute or a Triforce, you're like, hey man, love that. Or like, something like that. It's, what's the word? Product. I don't want to say product placement because that sounds wrong when we're talking about the social.
Conversation starters. When you rep Zelda, you meet people who enjoy it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a Majora's Mask wallet, so when I pull that stuff out occasionally, the person that's like cashing me out will be like, oh, hey.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember coming into the Discord that one day and being like, hey, so here's the podcast I'm thinking we could make. Do you guys want to be a part of it? And I mean, I remember going into that conversation, obviously like with all of this history in mind, like, we grew up playing these games together. We've talked about them all before in some respect, maybe not as in depth as now, but what were you guys like when you decided to jump in? Like, what did you guys, I guess, what were your goals with it? Like, what did you want to get out of it aside from like just talking with friends? Because I mean, it could just be that, and that's fine. I didn't know what your decision-making process was. I just knew that I asked you if you wanted to do it, and you both said, sure, yeah, like count me in.
When you asked, I thought it did sound like fun. I didn't really have anything that I wanted to get out of it, but I had extra free time that I wanted like something else to focus on and to do with. Yeah. So I decided to do something that could eventually become something that could be productive over time.
Gotcha.
Like something that could get my voice out, get me used to uploading stuff, maybe take it in a direction like that later on, or get me back on YouTube at some point. I don't know, wherever it takes me. But I just went with it. I thought about it, and I was like, I don't see any reason to say no, and it sounds like fun, so that's why I started.
I gotcha. Because previously you were a voiceover guy, right? Like that's how the world might know you out there.
Yeah, I got a YouTube channel called Voiceover Guy. I used to read Pokemon creepypastas when I was like 14 to 17. I had like one video got up to 74,000 and a couple others in the 60s, a couple 40s. I didn't do too bad.
You could have been like Corpse.
But listening to it now is pretty cringe.
Oh yeah. No, it's hard. It's hard to listen to yourself recorded, especially from years ago.
Mm-hmm. With the audio quality.
Yeah, like listening to myself now, it's fine. But back then is
Yeah, I dread the day that I go back and listen to all these recordings. Like again, after years of making it.
People tell me, it's funny you say that. It's like I hate episode 1 and 2 because of the audio quality and the white noise, and we just didn't know, right? Like we did. It was our first thing. It was our first go at it. We didn't know. If you listen to our episodes now, they're great. They sound perfect. But our first go was it was bad quality, and so people tell me, "Hey, I listened to your episode 1, and you guys are pretty good at podcasting." And then I just think back, like, how do you think that? Like, personally, I hate it.
It's like, I appreciate you.
I'm cringing on the inside when I hear it.
No, I understand.
Man, I had already done YouTube for a while up until then, so I feel like I was pretty prepared for it. Like, I'd already messed with audio editing and audio recording quite a bit before. And I know you've messed around with stuff like that too before, Anthony, in school and the like.
Well, I've done music production and like audio editing, but never.
Oh, never like self-recording?
Never recording. Like I'm fairly into, voiceovers just as much as you. Not as talented as you, but I do love it. But I've never actually like done what you did and just like record myself all the time reading things and that sort of thing. So I've never like put my voice into a program before that. So I was very unsure of what it would sound like. But yeah, I think where I'm at, where like, how we got started and what our goals are, pretty much the same as Cameron. You said, hey, let's do this. And I'm like, yes, there.
It's like, I will play these games and talk about them again. They're worth it. They're worth the time. I love
hobbies,
Yeah. No, this one has been probably the most significant actual hobby that I've ever jumped into, I think, post-school. Like, you asked me in school, I've been like, well, I play all these sports. I play violin. Like, I do all these things. I can't say that I built any real strong passions out of that. I enjoyed the things that I did, but proof is in the pudding. I left and most of those things kind of fell away. Gaming almost did. I mean, it didn't really. Like I still would use my free time like thinking of like, okay, trying to see what games are coming up and stuff like that, and trying to keep track of like gaming news and things. But it's always been on my mind. Like I enjoy it. It's something that I do, but this is the first time like really trying to make something of it. Like last year was the first year I made a podcast, first year that I started streaming, joined Facebook streaming. I'm now a level up creator, but that's about as far as I've gotten. But it was a fun first year. I mean, I think like even, I have our next topic up here as process and equipment. Like this is our first ever time trying this out. I mean, I know Cam just talked about how he used to do more audio recording and things like that, but I started out with a Yeti Snowball, a little $50 ball mic that picked up the whole room no matter what you do. There's no gain on that thing. You just you get what you get. It's a specialized piece. It works really well if you're just starting out. But eventually it got to the point where I'm like, it just sounds like I'm coming through a radio a little bit, which, maybe that's what you want out of your mic. But I mean, this Christmas, all I asked for was equipment for better quality. I got myself a industry standard Shure, SM58, which is, and I love it. I like the fact that I have it. Like, it's just something that since we started, I've kind of been thinking about like, hey, what mic I really want. It's just dumb stuff like that, but it was something that I was really excited about. That, a pair of studio headphones, whatever. Like, these are the things that help overcome some of the audio challenges we were facing, was just having the right equipment. But if you're wanting to start a podcast, like, you can do it with a Snowball. Like, if that's what you got, like that, you can do it. Like, go for it. You can do it with worse things than that. I mean, I've heard podcasts that everybody sounds like they're on the phone, and that's fine. Do it. It's worth it. It feels good to put something out there into the world like that, even if later you cringe when you hear it.
Just don't listen back.
Don't listen back.
Edit through it, push through, and don't listen back.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me now I got this fancy stuff. It's not really fancy. It's like level 2, right? Like I'm like one step above beginner now. And I mean, I'm still using Audacity, free audio program. It works just fine for what we do. We don't need anything stronger than that. We have a couple like little side programs. I mean, I do anyway. I have like a mixer program and a leveling program that, helps take a lot of the work out of the editing at the end stages. But, just simple stuff. It doesn't take much. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird topic to get into, but I guess I just wanted to me, this was a chance to be encouraging to someone else who might be looking to make a podcast. Like, hey, I starting from scratch, it's not that much of an investment if you know what to get.
Me and you started the same, because I had a Snowball, a Blue Yeti Snowball as well. You had the black one, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. The
I
little
had the silver one.
You had the one with the different settings on it, right?
With 3 settings. There was 1, 2, and 3, and I didn't know what they did because I lost the instruction manual 3 years ago. So
yeah, the Snowball has one setting, and you can hear your whole room. Like, there's no control here. You got a fan 2 rooms over. You can hear that too.
It was just bad, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was, let me say, it wasn't bad. I actually think I liked the quality of my Blue Yeti Snowball over the Sony microphone that I had bought afterwards. I had, you'll notice around, I think it's like halfway through, I think the audio changes in the Dark Lunker episode, which is episode, or maybe before then, episode 5, I bought this new mic. It was a Sony mic, and it was good, but it was too trebly. There was no bass in it at all, and it was leading to issues with. So I had Pro Tools before this, which is a very, very nice program for music production, but it did not like my microphones because they were too poor for Pro Tools, is what I've gathered from, doing this. And so I had moved to Audacity for, I think, like 1 recording session, hated it. And then I've been recording in GarageBand, which is basically the Mac version. It's Mac's Pro Tools, but it's free. GarageBand's very nice, and I haven't had an issue with GarageBand yet. Very user friendly, and the best part about it is, again, free. But now, you know, I think Cameron can attest, like, you know, Fonzie can attest. We all have big boy mics now. You know, I have a HyperX. Cameron's got a Yeti. Fonzie's got the SM. And, you know, Cameron's got his nice headphones. Ryan's got his nice headphones. I have my nice headphones. You know, we're like, you know, the level 2 producers now. We're in it.
Yeah. Small starts, man. I mean, it's been good. I mean, I think this kind of just leads right into our next thing. Like going through, I think when we first started, one of the biggest obstacles that I kept running into was just like, how do I get rid of this white noise without losing audio quality? Like, how do I trim things so that, you know, they sound good? Even if I have to like, cut out words, like how do I make a sentence flow? And that's not what it really feels like anymore. Like a lot of that stuff, I'm getting better at that kind of editing. And plus with a lot of the white noise has been now cut back because I have a mic with a gain setting and things like that. I think the biggest issue I have now is I'm trying to eliminate filler words. I'm trying to eliminate my and my likes and my kindas and my like anything that makes a sentence more passive and confusing.
Like is my downfall.
Right? I say like so many times. So many likes have been cut out of the audio. You would be surprised because you can still hear so many of them pop up as we go.
You sound like an indecisive high school girl from California.
A valley girl is what you're talking about.
Valley girls. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually met a valley girl. I don't want to offend them. So if you're a valley girl, I'm so sorry.
No, they are not offended by the way they talk. That's the thing. They do not get offended.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know a few.
Good on them. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm working on now. I mean, that's the biggest improvement I think I could make to my own quality is just having a plan for what I'm going to say before I get into a sentence so I don't have to redirect with lots of likes and ums. But, you know, that's one of the things that makes it hard to go back and listen to a released episode is every time you hear that, you just kind of twitch a little bit. I hope our listeners don't move forward listening out for that stuff now. But, I mean, hey, I just want to be transparent. To it. These are the things that I find the biggest challenge. I mean, that and if we get audio that just gets choppy somehow or we lose parts of words, like that's the worst feeling.
And you don't have to be a perfect public speaker to do this.
You don't.
You can mess up sometimes.
A lot of it, I mean, it's so conversational. That's the one thing that I'm learning. There's not really an expectation that podcasts like need to cite their sources or you know, it's just whatever you can, you know, whatever you're thinking, whatever you want to talk about, like it's literally just recorded conversations at this point. I remember one other thing in that book that I remember is like people just want to hang out with other people. Like if you give a podcast that invites your listener to spend time and hang out and have that shared experience, like that is a thing. Like that's the value of your podcast. Like don't waste people's time. Spend time with them. You know, it's just cool.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think your biggest challenges are with making the podcast?
You said it, man. White noise. That's the killer. That's the killer right there. There's so many files that partly my fault because I didn't start editing in time. And, you know, I gunned through with my super edits. And GarageBand's really great, but also very deadly. It's a double-edged sword because you have this noise gate filter. You can literally just cut the entire file noise gate, like the white noise, down if you have any at all. And what's amazing about it is it's so great. But also, if you don't level out or have leveled out audio, like if you yell randomly in the podcast with some very important information, but then you talk quiet in the next few minutes, that quiet conversation that you had put into your mic the white noise. If you put it down too low, it's not going to pick it up. It's going to cut it straight out your audio file. And then you're going to have missing audio, which it happened. And, you know, you just learn from it. That was the biggest challenge that I faced was just that noise gate meter when editing. I remember like a few files that just, you were like, so what happened to your talking? What happened to them?
Yo, Anthony, what happened to your words? you were talking about remlets and all I heard was Emmett. I'm like, what?
They ran away. I don't know what to say. Names was gone.
Oh goodness. That was a bad day.
What about you, Cam?
Yeah.
I haven't really had many challenges per se, but I guess there's one thing that I still want to work on a lot, and that's my bad habit of sighing at the end of a sentence when I have like extra air left in my lungs.
Yeah, the breaths, man, they'll get you.
Yeah, that's the worst part for me because I don't know, I used to be like and I still can be if I want to be. I can be a really loud person. I can make my voice really loud, but I'm not a fan of loud things. I never have been. Loud people. Going to a racetrack when I was a kid, I would literally cry because it hurt my ears. So I don't like to be loud. So I've like trained myself to not push a lot of air out through my vocal cords when I talk, and just naturally keeps my voice low. But because I do that, I end up like leaving a lot of extra air in my lungs, and I exhale it at the end of a sentence if I don't use it, and that gets picked up by the mic, and it drives me nuts.
This is hilarious because your track is consistently the loudest of the three of ours when I'm doing my editing. But I understand what you're saying.
I don't know, people that I meet like new and like people that I meet that didn't know me back in high school or anything, and they hear me yell for like the first time, like I usually get a shocked expression because when I yell, like I really let it rip. And they look at me and they're like, yeah, you can be loud. Because usually I'm hearing like what'd you say? And then I'll say it a little louder, and then if I hear another one, at that point I just like kind of cut my hands around my mouth, and I'm like, I'm gonna let you know, bruh.
I don't remember too much of your. You don't yell too often, but I do remember a specific sleepover that we had. Good old split screen cheating Matt.
Screen looker Matt. That's what we call him.
Sorry to call him out. Sorry to call out Action Matt over here, but
every time
we were honestly we're playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
He's the reason we use cardboard. Call
of Duty 4. Yeah, really. Oh goodness, we were in Backlot. The only reason I remember that is because that map was in Modern Warfare, the new one that just the new Modern Warfare that dropped. The Backlot. It was like a sandy lot with a building in the middle. Great map. They brought it back. It was so good. But Matt would always screen look in that map specifically. You would spawn and you'd be shot at, and you wouldn't even go around the corner. And you're like, Matt, you're screen looking around the corners. And I remember Cameron yelled.
Yeah, it got to the point where I would look at his screen because I would look at his screen and he would look over at the corner that I hadn't gone around yet, and I would just be like,
And you got so mad you started yelling, and I remember it. Then we like stopped playing.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
You like called him out.
I can see it happening.
I used to get really mad at games, and it was actually Matt that kind of told me at one point, like, hey, if you're going to keep being toxic, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And that was actually like a big thing in my life that helped me turn around and realize that I was going in a bad direction. And if I wanted people to still like me and to still like myself, that I had to kind of change.
Yeah.
Wow.
Action Matt to the rescue.
Yeah.
I didn't know that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to be too over competitive. It wasn't just video games. It could be board games, card games, playing soccer, anything. I would get so angry and so salty after losing, and I still do, but it's to the point where I know that I can't let that be me, so I have to just bury that down, swallow it, and be like, good game, I lost, and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, self-improvement's always good steps.
It's, it was maturing for me.
Yeah.
I got rid of some of my petulance.
I gotcha. So I guess that covers that then. I mean, I guess the next thing to talk about is our actual show, like what we've been doing so far. I mean, I've been loving it. I think we've
A for no, B for yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
That little
B.
Yeah.
For yeah.
It was right in the song. Welcome to A for no, B for yeah. It was pretty
that
good.
was Cameron's like intro. Yeah, I had Cameron record that message.
Yeah, that's something we should probably cover. Hey guys, in case you didn't know, message to our listeners. The reason why we don't give credits at the end of every episode to the people who made our music and made our art is because it's all us. And Anthony does all of our music as of now. I think there was like one song that I put into one episode, and it was the kind of jab at Anthony for using the bathroom. But other than that,
yeah, that was funny though.
Other than that, every intro and outro song that you hear, that's all Anthony. I mean, we kind of, I know at one point we started from a classical song that has hit the public domain. I don't even remember what the name of it is now. But other than that, I mean, it's all pretty much original stuff. So Like, we want to make it sound like Zelda, but without it actually being a Zelda song.
Claire de Lune.
Okay.
Debussy.
That's what I thought. Bad Debussy. Yeah.
Oh, Debussy. Yeah.
But yeah, I've done all of our album art. Cam's been voice. He's been a pretty good voice actor. You know, as far as like peripheral stuff, it's just nothing left to do, you know. But it's all good. The voice. He's voiceover guy. That's the thing. Like none of our content is bonus content. Like we don't hide anything behind a paywall or anything like that. I'm not looking to start that. I was thinking that this year we would be opening up like the Anchor specific like support program if people wanted to get in and, you know, help us out a little bit with equipment upgrades and things like that. But this is really like a passion project. So, you know, everything that we make, I mean, we put it together ourselves as much as we can. Like we want it to be our own, like put as much of our own originality into it as we can, even though, you know, the games themselves, obviously, like we can't make those, but we can talk about them. And speaking of content, you guys have any favorite episodes what like we've recorded that you just, you know, you feel like we're like the prime of our discussion, or just the best in general time that we've had recording?
I mean,
I really enjoyed the trailer we made where in a world.
We've made 2 of those now.
The first one I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah. The second one was good, but the first one I was just like, I didn't realize it while it was happening. I was having a good time, but after I was like, wow, that was a great time.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. Our first trailer, our season 2 trailer. If you guys want to hear it, it ended up being way funnier than it deserved to be.
Nonsense.
Yeah, we got sidetracked in the middle of it, and oh my goodness, it was great.
We continually I've noticed each of our trailers we've done so far, we've gotten sidetracked. I feel like it's just going to be a norm that we're going to have a sidetrack in our trailers.
I mean, let's give credit where credit is due. I mean, the in a world stuff, I mean, that is prime cinematic stereotype phrasing. To me, that reminds me of like the Honest Trailers guy. Like every time we do it, I'm like, channel your inner Honest Trailer guy. Like,
pretty much.
See what you can do with it.
Yes.
And it's great. It's good fun.
I've actually still watched his content. He has another channel called Fandom Games, I think, where he does trailers for games.
Nice. Yeah, those ones are definitely fun. I will say there are 2 categories I kind of put our episodes into. And one is how much outside material and cool findings did I actually have coming into the episode. So this one would be like the Forest Temple episode that we did and the Ancient Cistern episode that we did. Those ones were some of my favorites to actually record and make the content for, just because I had so much material coming in. And the other category is which episodes can I listen back to and actually laugh and enjoy, just from a fun perspective. And that's 100%. I think Dark Lunker takes the cake. For being our best actual episode. It was so good. I think that's actually the one where Anthony went missing on us too, but it was so good.
It's podcast gold, that episode.
And Lunker's going nowhere.
And then there was one, it was when we went to the Earth Temple. We had a lot of fun with that episode too. Talking about chicken cookies and stuff. That one made me laugh as I was doing the editing and stuff 3. like that. Of season 2,
of
right?
Our season 2, yeah, episode 3.
Yeah. It was some good stuff. Those are my favorites. Those 4 are like my top 4. I think honestly, to listen back to, I want to say Dark Lunker is probably my favorite one. Just from editing, like I can just still remember how much I enjoyed that episode, making it even. And then from there, I'd probably go to the Earth Temple, or not the Forest Temple. Would probably be my number 2 episode so far that we've made.
If we're talking about lore, and in terms of like, just from my personal opinion of what I learned that I didn't know, I did enjoy sort of the Spirit Temple in Ocarina of Time a little bit as like my second lore episode. But I think in terms of all time, the Ancient Cistern, you dropped your mic, you brought fire that episode. And it's just like, I didn't know a lot of that stuff. Even playing it, the only thing I really thought of was, hey, this is like Buddha stuff. And then the Phoenix is kind of like a reincarnation thing. But then you just dropped like He was like, all right, I'm coming in here. I'm bringing my mic. I'm dropping it. Now we're going to go to town.
It was a fun one to research. One of the things that is tricky about an episode like that is just making sure that you're being respectful of whatever reference it is, like going into that, I'm like, I'm not a Buddhist. Like I had to make that extremely clear up front. I'm like, I do not actually study this stuff on the reg. I'm not a part of the culture. But here's what I see, here's what I think I see. It would be great if somebody listened to that who, knew more and could come in and contribute more. And even if they needed to point something out like, hey, when you said this, you were way off base. I'd be like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I try to treat it from like more of an academic standpoint. And, I feel like sometimes that really, really serves well. Sometimes I come into an episode and it's like, I played the game, but I really just couldn't figure out anything big or special or, like just trying to figure out where it fits in the game itself rather than trying to figure out the outside influence. But when I'm able to find things like that is really exciting for me. It's one of the, it's one of the cool things that this series offers is those calls to outside material.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Cam? What were your favorite episodes other than the trailer?
I also have to say that the episode I remember the most like new information being brought up in was the Cistern episode with all the Buddhism references, because I know like super insanely basic knowledge on like Buddhism and not even like how it differs from Hinduism too much. I don't really know how they're too separate, but I know they're slightly similar as well. And you brought up just a lot of points and stuff that like Anthony said, I had no idea as I was going through the game that any of that stuff was an actual reference to something.
Yeah.
Outside of like the boss kind of looked Buddhist and had all the arms and stuff, like outside of the obvious stuff anyone could pick up if they knew about it.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's a fun one to make.
It was.
Cool. So I think Anthony had a quiz for us. At least he said he had a quiz for us. A few days ago, he said he had a quiz. It would take no more than, I don't know how many minutes he said, but it should be a
I didn't want to take any more than, 10 minutes up of our allotted time here. So
I didn't study at all, so I hope it's okay.
Yeah, you're good. I've ranked them in terms of what I believe to be easy to hard based on both of your knowledge, not just one of you. And whoever wins gets a free cookie. I already told Cameron. I'll send you a cookie.
A free cookie in the mail.
One cookie in the mail.
In the mail. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
No, I'll figure something out. But yeah, I just wanted to do a podcast, see which one of you, could trump the other one in what I believe is Zelda knowledge. It's really not. It's just random stuff that I thought about and then put it together. But I just wanted to,
knowledge.
Test you guys out here. So
good knowledge. What's the format of the game?
So what you're going to do is I'm going to ask the question. It is all answer to text. There's no true false. There's no multiple choice.
Okay.
Just type to me the answer in private chat, and then I will say what the answer
private
is.
Chat.
Yeah,
okay, so private chat. So are we message you individually?
Yeah, just individually. Don't do it through the channel.
It's not like a timed race or anything. Like we both get a fair shot at it. Like I'm terrible when it comes to answering things fast.
I have a timer, so I'm going to set the timer so we don't waste time. I don't want you guys like taking 5 minutes for a question, which any of these questions shouldn't take you 5 minutes, but
Okay.
I say 30 seconds.
Yeah, I have 30 seconds on the timer.
Trying to get an edge. All right. I'm good. I'm in the chat with you, just me and you, Anthony.
Right. But I'm in the chat with just me and Anthony.
It's a different chat. It's one that only we know about.
All right. So we ready?
I think
Ready.
so.
Get your brain going. All right. So question number 1. What type of animal is divine beast Varudania from Breath of the Wild? What type of animal is divine beast Varudania from Breath of the Wild? 30 seconds on the clock.
Yikes.
Okay.
I mean, I answered it.
Don't be doing Googles, anybody. You know what I'm saying?
No.
All right. So I'll stop the clock. You both answered me. All right. So Fonzie has wrote in salamander, and Senpai Cameron, you have wrote in vulture. The correct answer is salamander. Varudania was the one.
Oh, darn it.
Not the. Yeah, it's tricky because I think they both start with R. No, Vamado.
I had a moment because I'm pretty sure the elephant is Rudo, right?
Rudo, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
I was like, is this the elephant or the lizard? I couldn't remember, but I got it.
The vulture
I'm
is
so happy.
Meadow, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Yeah.
I totally forgot that.
It's spelled Meadow. I think it's supposed to be Meadow, just because that's a character that we've heard of before in a town that we've been to before. But it is. I always call it Meadow, so that's what I go with. But it didn't occur to me until I played The Adventure of Link that it might be Meadow.
Is it a vulture though?
Yeah, I think so. Or some type of bird. I don't know.
It's definitely a bird.
It's some type of bird.
I would have accepted bird if that was the question.
Uh-huh.
All right, question number 2.
Oh, I'm ready.
In Wind Waker, how much is an orange rupee worth? In Wind Waker, how much is an orange rupee worth?
Yikes. That's a tricky one, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got it wrong. I think I messed it up, but that's okay. I'm gonna stick with my answer. Stick with my initial feeling.
It's pretty much a guess, but it's where my gut's at.
All right.
I don't remember hardly anything of Wind Waker. I haven't played it since it came out.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one. My timer's going off, and you guys both answered me. All right.
Great.
So the answer to in Wind Waker, how much is an orange rupee worth? Cameron said 500. Fonz, you said 100 rupees. Fonzie, you are correct again. It is the same value as a silver rupee in Ocarina of Time or, Skyward Sword. Those were 100. The orange rupee is like the same value as a silver rupee. I don't know why they changed the color. They wanted to be difficult. I think that was the game where they added like different rupees. They had like rupees and rupee shards and all that other junk.
Yeah, there was I think like there was like gold rupees in that one worth like 300 or something like that.
I think that's like the normal. Oh no, yeah, they added those because Skyward Sword had gold rupees, but that came way after.
Basically, you got a ton. It was a treasure hunting game, so like you got so many rupees in that game, and most of it went to Tingle.
And auctions.
Yeah, man, they change the rupees all the time. It's crazy out here.
Yeah, so an orange rupee wasn't even like that special when compared to what you would dig out of the ocean. But yeah, something like that. It was a crazy game with rupees.
All right, I'm gonna make a comeback.
All right, what you got, Anthony?
Dun dun dun. Back to the quiz. And I hope that our listeners are playing along with us here because what are you doing if you're not,
What's our next question, bro?
This one, I'm not sure if you guys are going to get this right. Question number 3. Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ready.
What hand does Link primarily use to carry his sword? And remember, keyword primarily. What hand does he primarily use to carry his sword?
This is the trick question. I hate this question. Oh, goodness.
All right. Timer stopped. Both questions are in. Link primarily uses his left hand to carry his sword. So Fonzie got it right. Cameron, I'm sorry, man. I'm tripping you up.
Batting 0.
I'm tripping you up over here.
You put his right hand. No, I was gonna ask you if you meant modern day or like in the past, because
I know that since motion controls have come into it, they made him right-handed because most people are right-handed. So in order to do it, they had to do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of games that's why I said I wanted a keyword primarily, and why Fon said he hates this, because there's more games that are out there in the Zelda universe that he is left-handed versus him being right-handed. And then you obviously
traditionally
have
he's left-handed.
big Goron sword and that junk, but he was a left-handed bruh.
Good for him.
Right?
In the old games, they mirrored the sprite so that he would actually use like his left hand when you were facing one direction and then his right hand when he was facing the other direction. I think that was like in the original Legend of Zelda that would happen.
That is weird.
Yeah, and they gave some weird reasoning like to cover up for that, because it was really just a programming convenience or like an pixel art asset convenience. But what they said was that he always held his shield towards Death Mountain symbolically.
They could have just been like, yeah, when Link's facing east, he likes to hold his sword in his right hand. When he's facing west,
he's ambidextrous and he's practicing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Next question is, what famous actor named their daughter after Zelda? Or named their daughter Zelda after the game, essentially.
I got you.
All right. So both answers are in. That was very quick. I guess you both knew this in the bottom of your heart because you both got it right. It is Robin Williams. Yep.
They did a commercial together for the Ocarina of Time 3D, I'm pretty sure. Where
Robin
it was
Williams.
like, yeah, it was Robin Williams and Zelda Williams. And he was like telling her like he was basically talking as if he was talking to Princess Zelda. And he's like, oh, I went across the lands and fought so many monsters and whatever, like just to save you or whatever. And she was just like, cut it out, Dad.
Stop it, Dad.
It was a cute commercial.
Oh, man. All right. We got 2 questions left. And I put these 2 in here.
Oh, snap. It's a long quiz.
I'm hoping these 2 trip both of you up. I think the last one is like a guaranteed you're not going to get it.
Okay.
So let me go to the next question here. This is question 5. The farm girl in Ocarina of Time is named Melon. However, in Majora's Mask, what are the names of the 2 identical sprites to Melon, the farm sisters in Romani Ranch? What are their names?
Oh, gosh.
I was hoping this one was going to trip you guys up. Oh, those answers are great.
Yeah, I don't have that. There's
All right.
no way.
So you both didn't get the one I both thought you were actually going to get. The first sister's name of Romani Ranch is actually just Romani.
I thought that, and I thought it would be way too obvious, and it couldn't be.
So Cameron's
Junk, I should have typed
answer
it.
for both of them was just nope.
I got nothing.
He's like, nope. Fonzie, you got the hard one. You said Cremia, which is right. That was the other sister.
Cremia?
Yeah, Cremia was the older sister.
Good lord.
And then you said and D.
Oh, I said it's just supposed to be and ... because I couldn't remember.
There's a space.
I was
here.
like, I'm pretty sure it's Romani Ranch, so wouldn't their last name be Romani? And then I was like super self-doubting, and I did not type in Romani. I just remembered Cremia. I was like, yeah, all right.
It's Cremia. She's the one now. Cremia is the one who gives you the... No. I thought Cremia was the one who gave you the quest for the aliens, but it's actually Romani, right?
Yeah, Romani gives you the quest. Cremia doesn't even like believe that the aliens are coming.
That's right.
Yeah. She thinks Romani's just playing around.
Romani calls you grasshopper, teaches you the way of the shooting balloons, and then tells you to meet her in the middle of the night to go fight the aliens.
She's also the one who does the Brayton mask, like chicken thing, dance thing, right?
No, there's I don't even know if he's related to them or not. It's basically the punk dude from Ocarina, the kid who, finds the mushrooms or whatever. He's over there and he's obsessed with the chickens.
Right.
It's like a little side room. It's so weird.
If that was a question on the quiz, I would have failed that one. Okay.
All right. I mean, to be fair, this quiz has been a little rigged because I actually did play through Wind Waker and Majora's Mask last year.
Oh.
So this stuff was just a little fresher in my head, which is, but okay. What's your last question?
Question 6.
Let's have this one free for all the monies. 10 points. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm batting 95 right now.
All right. So, last question. In reference to The Legend of Zelda, T-Laws, Legend of Zelda 1, the OG Zelda. I could go on and on with this. What is the original release year for this game? What year did the OG T-Laws come out?
You have my answer.
Here's a lifeline.
What lifeline do you want to use?
I don't know.
You want to
Just
phone a
because of the
friend?
music you made. Yeah, let me ask you real quick.
Okay.
He made the quiz, bro.
All right. So I got the answers in, and the answer is 1980 CD-Dubix. 1986. So if we're talking like
Nice.
OG coming out, it came out in 1986 in Japan. If we're talking about North America, it was 1987.
Oh, wow.
It was like a year later. It wasn't released until, but yep. So Fonz got it right. Cameron. They probably started development in the year you put.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's when it dropped at E3. Do you remember?
That's when they had their E3. I was there, man. I wasn't born yet. I was a cat at E3. I was watching it.
They called it E3 because back then it was literally just three dudes named Earl. He just got together for a conference.
They decided Earl Cubed wasn't so good, so they went with E3.
Oh my goodness.
All right, but that's the end of the quiz. That's all the questions I had prepared.
Whoop whoop.
Fonzie, you win a cookie
I win a cookie
in the mail.
in the mail. Mail cookie. Nice.
Mail cookie.
If you want it, you don't need to have it.
Trying to cut back on carbs, but I'll take a victory cookie.
Double chocolate chip.
What would you do if you actually got a cookie in the mail though, like just sealed up?
Well, do I have warning ahead of time or no? Because if you tell me you're sending me a cookie in the mail and then a cookie arrives in the mail, I'm gonna be like, well, this was expected. But if I'm just randomly going to get mail and it's just a like unmarked cookie, I'd probably throw it out, bro. It's like, I got a cookie in the mail from who? There's no return address and this is going in the garbage.
All right, cool.
That'd be a dubious cookie.
Right? I don't know, somebody trying to foreclose on our house. Put some poison in our mail in the form of a cookie. It looks really nice, but I can't trust it.
Wow, this chocolate chip cookie looks too perfect. I must dispose of it.
So nice quiz.
Yeah, I tried to stick some hard ones in there that you guys might falter on.
Yeah, like all of them.
Like all of them.
I feel like I would do better in a Pokemon quiz.
I wish I put Romani. I really do. I really should have.
Yeah, I definitely thought you both were gonna get Romani over the other one.
I was thinking about just typing something dumb to you like Roma and Knee, but I was just like, nope.
Probably not.
Been close. Yeah, it's like Cremia, I think, has something to do with the mask as well at the end, where you go to the milk bar or something like that in Clocktown, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, she's the one that sets you up on the cart that you have to take the milk to the club and get past the bandits that are trying to break your jugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she sets you up with all the cart and stuff, and that's how you get the mask and get into the bottom, and you can buy the milk and all that, because for some reason you have to be a member of this club to go down there and buy milk. They treat it like it's alcohol to underage kids. Like, you have to go through this, like, instead of aging process, you have to go through this complicated process of doing a favor for us to get a mask to be allowed in here.
Yeah. It's
It's weird.
And then they don't
it's just
sell you
weird.
any milk unless you're actively wearing the mask.
Yeah.
Which is another silly thing because you have to wear this silly looking cow hood, basically, to buy what is supposed to be an adult beverage. So it's just weird all around.
You know what I
Great
just
tabs.
realized? I'm staring at my question sheet and I'm looking at Varudania, and then I just thought, because, you know, Vavardania is on Death Mountain. If you put the RU in front of Dania into the DA, it's Darunia.
Right. Yeah.
I just now realized that.
Yeah.
Like 4 years after Breath of the
Ruto is
Wild
based
came
off
out.
of Princess Ruto.
I got that one.
Yeah. Meadow,
But
I think,
yeah,
is based on
Redania
Mido.
just clicked on me.
And then Naburus is Naburu.
Mm.
So they're all based off of them sages.
So Meadow could just
except
be
for Mido, Meadow.
Mido, because wasn't he originally a sage or something? You said
No, he was the boss of the Kokiri. It was Fado that was originally going to be the sage. I don't know, but Mido was a town in the Adventure of Link, though. There's a town.
Still despise that game.
Yeah, me too.
So I guess that brings us to our last topic. This is like a thing that all just across the community, like everybody's got to know. This is the information, right? We've done 2 games so far, Ocarina of Time and Skyward Sword, and the world wants to know, which one do you like more? Like, which one is your, between just those 2 for now, because I want to trickle in the games as we go. But just between those 2, do you like Ocarina of Time more or Skyward Sword more?
Well, it's an easy answer for me. Ocarina of Time, and that's just because I've played it a lot more. It has nostalgic value to me, and I played it not only as a kid, but, you know, as the beginning to the podcast that we started, so yeah.
Yeah, we did kind of do that to ourselves, didn't we?
I have a lot more memories with Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I'm going with Ocarina of Time too, partly for that, partly for the nostalgia, but I mean, it was one of the first games that I, ever had, but also it's so dense. It's such a dense game. Just to put some perspective on it, we spent 11 episodes, like about 2 hours almost on some of them, talking about that game. And then with Skyward Sword, we played the game about twice as much as we talked about it. And I didn't feel like we were any more pressed for time. Like, it wasn't as much substance to it, overall. Like, I think that Ocarina of Time takes the cake just from a story perspective. From an analysis perspective, I should say, because there was a lot of story in Skyward Sword. It's just, I think in terms of lore hunting and really discovering things, like, I think Ocarina of Time is my favorite.
Yeah.
I have to also say that
Definitely.
the Master Quest mode that they threw into that was insanely good, and probably my favorite difficulty increase in any game, where they just completely redesigned all of the dungeons and made them harder. Although if you know them on Master Quest, it's still easy to get through them. But it was like a challenge. It was like almost a whole nother game, just the exact same story and outside world, but the actual dungeons themselves were mixed up and completely different, whole new rooms and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Skyward Sword's hero mode, or whatever they call it, is fun if you want to play the same game with harder enemies and that sort of thing, and you get to use your Skyward Sword more frequently, but there's no differing dungeons, which kind of is upsetting.
I will say, though, in terms of Groose, Skyward Sword all the way.
In terms of, the Groose in Ocarina was terrible.
Yeah, there was definitely not enough Groose.
No. Need more Groose. 10 out of 10.
Need more Groose.
I mean, I will say, I think Groose is probably after like seeing the whole development of him, is probably one of my favorite characters in any Zelda game. So there is that.
Yeah, Groose would be the best NPC.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good stuff.
We should petition for Groose to come back. You know how they always bring Beetle back?
Or just a character named similarly.
that's the dehydrated Ganondorf underneath the castle in Breath of the Wild 2. It's not Ganondorf, that's Groose there.
Oh,
come back,
goodness.
that all that hair is gonna stand up in one big old pompadour. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be like the new Beast Ganon is just gonna be a giant shadow pompadour. The callback.
Oh goodness. All right, so I mean that's all the things I wanted to cover. Anyway, I don't think we actually got an answer out of Anthony as to which game was better, though. Which one he likes more.
I would say, in terms of overall story, in terms of like nostalgia, and you just basically what we just talked about, like the lore, the story, the setting, the beginnings of 3D Zelda games in general, and the level of depth to Ocarina of Time, it's number 1. And Skyward Sword's number 2. Where I think my opinion differs is I can't just play Ocarina of Time like you can, and then like a month or two later play it again.
Okay.
Like I can't set that expectation for myself, and I think Skyward Sword I could do it a little more as long as I'm not like I can't start from the beginning of Skyward Sword, but I think in terms of trying to 100% the game, I think I'd find it to be more fun to actually do Skyward Sword because there's a lot more collectibles in that game to 100%. But if we're just talking about base game, like fun, it's 100% Ocarina of Time. There's no question about it at all.
Okay, so if I said just holistically, like just general feeling, which one is better without getting into specifics, like how would you?
Oh, it'd be OOT then, Ocarina of Time. Yeah, without specifics.
All right. Reigning champ across the board, Ocarina of Time. Skyward Sword is number 2. We'll see how long it stays there. I mean, I think we're each going to have our own list. Like, I really don't think we're going to come to an agreement on this in terms of like once we have 9 or 10 of these games on our list.
Yeah, it's going to change for sure.
All of them are going to look different.
Yeah.
But for now, we all look the same. We all got Ocarina of Time at the top.
That was my expected outcome.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I kind of felt that way coming in. So I mean, it just hasn't changed.
Skyward Sword's up there, and it's definitely more appreciated now. I think the biggest flaw, wrapping up that game. I think we did a pretty good job wrapping it up, but I think wrapping it up, we said a lot of great things about it. But I think the thing that I would change the most about that game would be how many times that you fight Toothy.
How many times you fight Toothy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the third time does it really. It just feels so out of place because of how soon it happens.
I would have just wanted less repetition in general. Like, even going back to the same areas 3 times throughout the game, I think if they would have just thrown one more area in there and, like, one less Toothy fight, because that was also a very repetitious part of the game, that it probably would have felt fresher throughout the entire thing and would have just been an, in general, better experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even just one more area. But, I mean, it was still a good game.
I hear that.
Just very repetitious.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. I actually maybe add one little segment here.
Ooh.
But maybe the listeners want to know, what is the game that we are currently into playing? So maybe the viewers can get to know us a little bit better about what is the top game that we're currently interested in playing right now.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like what games we're playing outside of Zelda?
Yeah. So like, what's your favorite game that you're playing right now outside of Zelda? Like, you might be playing 3, but like, what's your favorite?
Yeah, if we're not counting Zelda at all, I've been playing a lot of Battlefront 2 recently.
Mm-hmm.
This is the DICE produced EA Battlefront 3 or Battlefront 2 that got a lot of flack, especially in its early years.
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Right. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Sorry, I should make that clear. I mean, that's part of the DICE EA thing, but it's a game that eventually the consumers, the people who play it, won out on in terms of getting loot boxes eliminated and making a lot of good changes. And I think that right now, if you play it, it's just a ton of fun. But that's something that I play like when I have friends to play with. On my own, I just got Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. For Christmas. Yeah. And that one's been fun. I've only played it a couple times since that, in terms of like just a solo player experience. It's just really cool. It's just a really good demonstration of the PS5 and what it can do. So that's what I'm into right now.
Okay.
I could probably ask Anthony to just tell you the game that I'm into just as much as I could, because it's not a secret.
I very much can tell people right now.
I've been very into a game called Back 4 Blood, which is kind of like a spiritual successor to an older franchise called Left 4 Dead, a zombie survival game where you run through levels with a group of people and just try to get to the end alive through hordes of stuff that's trying to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
It is.
And I'm going through the hardest difficulty right now. I've beaten one of the entire acts on Nightmare difficulty.
Oh, wow. You're getting there.
Yeah.
That game is a lot of fun. It's just, for me, it's when I play it at nighttime, it's too much. Like Battlefront, I can relax to. It might be that I'm used to it, but yeah, it's not as intense. Like there's breaks in between the action, which is what I look forward to when I play a game, I think. I love hardcore action, but then like Back for Blood, it literally, there's barely any breaks. You need to be alert 24/7 or you're out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can play in a way that can give yourself breaks, but you have to know how to do that and kind of like have a team that's willing to be together, and you can just like chill in the middle of them for a little bit, for like 30 seconds, and just like let someone protect you for the most part.
Normally, your team is just
running around.
Over, sir. My team is dog water, sir. Over.
Yeah, no,
running around doing their own things.
those are both really good games. So I don't have anything I think as exciting as those two. But the game that I'm playing, no one's even probably heard of, except aside from maybe you, Cameron. Well, you played it, Cameron. I don't even know if I told you, Fonz, but Satisfactory is a factory building game. I've been playing since update 5, which happened in November. I just been playing off and on with a couple friends, and they just had their Christmas update, and it's just fun. It's almost like adult Legos with math. Mm-hmm. You're like trying to build Legos, make a factory, but also solve math equations of like, well, if 780 resources are going into this compiler and I smelt these resources down into 6 constructors to make a manufacturer with 2 of these products, I'm actually burning 45 resources, and that's not good. It's just like all that. It's like, I don't know, for me, it's enjoyment. I don't know why I do that to myself, but yeah.
And also battling the native species of the planet.
Oh, yeah. Which is annoying. Player guys are, no matter how long you've played the game for and what equipment you get, they're still annoying.
Yeah, they're always dangerous.
There's no like level up system, so it's always danger. But yeah, that's interesting. We have very varying games when we're not playing Zelda.
Yeah.
When not playing Zelda.
But here's the thing. Still am playing Zelda. I've been streaming some Ocarina of Time again. That feels good to do. And we're about to go into our next season of A Link to the Past, so we'll be playing that. I'm probably going to be streaming that too. I'm playing an Ocarina around that on Tuesdays. So that's good. Been a lot of fun. Been some good streams that come out of that. Mm-hmm. Ocarina of Time is, of all the games that I stream, it is the one that is always the most successful. People just love watching it played almost as much as they like playing it.
It's very relaxing to watch.
It's a great game.
It's been a good time. Yeah.
I enjoyed watching speedruns of it for quite a while.
Yeah, I got about halfway through like a glitchless any percent speedrun. Man, some of the things that they figured out to do are just nonsense. I mean, I appreciate glitchless just because glitches, there's always something that happens that I just don't know the coding behind or why it works, and they just break the game, and that to me, that's not as entertaining, and also it's way further from being attainable with my skill level. But when I watch the glitchless any percent, I'm like, I bet I could make that jump. It like drives me to want to try stuff in the game that I'd never tried before, you know? It kind of helps you break away from thinking you have to play this in a linear way, or you have to do things in a certain order when you really don't.
Yeah.
I do like watching the things in speedruns that you can easily emulate, but I also find it really funny how people break games. I get a lot of entertainment out of watching, like, oh, hey, you want to see something? Like, he goes over, clicks a button on a tree, and, like, falls through the map. Like, I'm just like, nice. I don't know. Silly stuff like that.
And that's what I think makes Breath of the Wild one of the most fun Zelda games in terms of, like, breaking the game, because of the map's nature and the different, what are they called? Tablet powers? I don't really know what those were called. I forgot the name of like the powers you have.
Were they runes in that game?
Runes.
I don't remember what they called them.
In what game?
Breath of the
Wild. Like the powers in your Sheikah Slate.
Yeah, I think they were runes.
Basically, Link gets an iPad if none of you have ever played it, and on his iPad he has very differing powers, and the powers grant what you can do with those powers if you practice with them is ridiculous. The stuff you can do. You can chop a tree down and then shoot it through the air and ride it from like Death Mountain to the beach. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things. Like I tried to learn how to do bomb jumps and stuff where you don't blow yourself up, but you blow a bomb into yourself and it launches you pretty harmlessly into a super fast glide across the map. It's craziness. I haven't actually figured it out really, but it's attainable. Like if you watch a video on how to do it, it's not that crazy to get to, I don't think.
There's another one that's probably relatively easy to try for at least. And that's if you get an enemy under you and you're above them, and you jump off of there, you do like the shield jump, so Link is standing on the shield, like shield surfing midair, and then you pull out your bow and go into the slow-mo as your shield is hitting the enemy. You will bounce insanely high and possibly gain a bunch of speed depending on like the angle you hit them at, and you could just launch yourself around for fun.
Interesting. That's a new one I haven't heard.
I feel like that one requires some setup. But I've seen it done. It's pretty great.
Well, if you're going for a specific guy in a specific area to go in a specific direction to get to a place, then it requires a lot of setup. But if you're just playing the game and you happen to see an enemy underneath you, you could always just give it a shot.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, you can like burn grass and then get on your glider and get above enemies almost anytime you're in a grass field, or take advantage of fire almost anywhere. There's a lot of ways to get above enemies.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think we're pretty much good to wrap up this episode then, if you guys are feeling good with what we got.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. So this has been our episode of A for No, B for Yes. You can reach out to us at our email, any of our social medias. All those links will be in the description. Be on the lookout if you are someone who decides that you want to support this project. Pretty soon we will be opening up our tip jar for that. And you'll be able to find it on the Anchor website when that happens. Otherwise, hope you guys all have a good couple of weeks, and we will see you with our premiere episode for A Link to the Past season.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I like A Link to the Past.
It's going to be good. Played it for the first time just recently.
I still haven't beat it ever yet, so I'm going to be learning a bunch of new stuff.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've only ever in my life gotten to Hyrule Castle, so I've never even seen. Okay, I can't say I've never seen the Dark World, but I've seen it in pictures and stuff, but I've never actually played the Dark World.
I mean, the first place you go to is Hyrule Castle.
You're in for a treat, man.
Oh, I know.
All right. So that's been it, guys.
Did you get all that?
Bop. 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 Shibba bop. Bop. Bop.
Bop it.
Skibbity bop.
Twist it.
Bop. Bop. Bop.
Oh.
Bop.
Got some scatting. Skibbity bop 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 doo bop 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 bop.
I'm the scat man.
Shibbity bop 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 boo dop bop. Bop bop boo dop bop. Shibbity bop 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 boo dop bop.
That's the wrong guy, Ryan.
Chacarone macaron.
That's not the scat man.